Hello, and welcome to the Dad and Sons podcast. Today, we apparently have bad news. But before all that,
oh gosh,
how have we been doing this week? Everything good? Liam looks tired.
We've been doing better than the rest of the industry, I'm sure.
I'm tired, but I'm happy to be back. It's nice to see you both. I heard you replaced me with an IGF winning video game developer last week. I feel like that's a step up.
I can't believe it. Like minutes, if not hours after recording, about more or less about 1 day on the clock, the news broke in that Veselikov, Tolly Faulkner,
Best won it.
He got it. The Seamus McNally Big Prize.
God damn, I don't think people realize how big of a deal that is.
It's something only like 19 other people in the world have that. It's hugely prestigious.
It's like, imagine Jeff Keighley's Game of the Years, but specifically for indie games. And that's what he won. And a big fat stack of cash alongside of it. Ooh-hoo-hoo.
The show is tacked onto and arranged by and airs immediately after the Game Developers Choice Award from the GDC. So it's like coming from an extremely official, prestigious panelist of judges, but I don't know if any one of us would know here.
Actually, it's before. Sorry to crush your party there, George. It's before, but...
Well, they're back to back.
They're back to back, yeah. So you go from one, like the schlubs who make games in their bedrooms, like us, to like people who pretend to be not schlubs who make video games in studios for big money. But, oh my god, congratulations to Vess if he's listening. What a, huge stuff. So there you go. I got replaced and he won an award. Next guest who replaces me will probably win an award. So send your emails in now.
It seems to be a recurring thing. If you show up on the Dad and Sons podcast,
good stuff happens to you.
You get a Game Developers Award. You get on the New York Times bestseller list. Good things tend to happen afterwards.
Just not to us. Any guests who come on go on to do great things, and we just sit here.
Oh, this has gotten really sad.
The silence was deafening.
Well, it's because of this week in particular that thinking about how hip, cool indie games are having a cool time these days, but big money AAA games aren't, does sting a little harder than usual for this week in particular.
It sounds like all you want to do is talk about the bad news. Is that what you want to do?
Kinda, yeah.
Instead of talking about how your day has gone, like what have you been playing, George? What have you been playing?
What can I say? I'm magnetized to misery. I've played some cool fun stuff.
That sums you up in one sentence.
Yeah,
it does.
I was gonna say,
but
that works.
But I do see on the docket that Liam and I might have actually had some synchronicity this week, which has happened before. It's fun when it does.
Yeah. Kind of. I haven't played that much of what you're talking about. I've played an hour or so, but I'm interested to hear how you've been doing.
And that's all it deserves. I'm just
bringing the misery in.
I played it too.
Oh,
holy crap!
Oh my god!
Way.
I come back and we actually have done something for once. Well done, us.
I can't believe.
Yeah,
this.
I don't understand how we both we all played it. I played the first start, like the first boss, and everything.
Yeah. I've got a little further than that.
Okay, that's amazing.
Yeah.
George, Matt, and Liam, we all, without planning it, decided on our own to independently play Death's Door this week.
Something must have psychoanalytically got into my head, because I just on a whim purchased it last night and played like a couple of hours of it.
Of the cute games going around right now, this seemed like the one that had its production values, its quality, its art and direction all in line with what should be my tastes, I thought.
It's not very cute.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's pretty miserable. So, like, in terms of magnetizing miserable, like, it's pretty miserable.
I thought it was cute. cute. I like your little hero's animations. He's an adorable little crow person.
He is.
Has a cute little stamper for your run cycle.
Who walks around slaughtering things that spill blood all over that delicious world of it.
The world looks like you want to eat it. It looks like it's chiseled out of cake and cookies. It has a crumbly aesthetic, so to speak. I wonder if we're already leaning a little towards the iffy side of things, judging by the vocal pauses, the tone in our speech here.
I think everybody wants to say something about it, so I think I don't know, Matt. I imagine, you play a lot of indie titles, and probably, more so than, us, we do.
I've played too many. Yeah.
Yeah, this fits in, the higher bracket of, wow, the production values of this game are high.
Yeah, it's sleek. It's
very sleek.
It's polished.
Do you get that? How do you feel?
It doesn't... Yes, I agree with George. It looks good. The combat does feel good. Yeah, it's cute. The first
cute.
area where you keep seeing the old lady every time you do something. It's you better stop doing that or blah blah. It's cute. It just feels. It has the same thing where it don't you know when a game tries to be something. Not to say it's not trying to be its own thing, but it tries to be something. It obviously takes a lot of things from other games, but it ends up not not nailing what it's supposed the feel of what it's going for. It ends up not having not a soul, but you just feel like you're just playing. It's just something to play. It doesn't feel that feeling where you want to keep playing. And I'm trying to nail it because I had the same feeling on Ender Lilies.
Okay.
Where, it just feels like there's just a thing with mechanics, but there's nothing to drive you to finish the game.
Yeah.
The story, it's... The story's just there. In Ender Lilies, you're trying to figure out what your memory is. And then in this one... you're and some people play a game for gameplay, some people play a game for a story. I feel I'm not either. It just has to, which one is the focus, it has to actually nail it. And I feel the gameplay is super fucking easy. It's super easy. And it could be because I play a lot of these games, but I do think the regular person who plays normal games can beat this pretty easily, right? The bosses, right, for the first area.
They're not too tough.
They're pretty first try. I'm pretty sure none of us has died, right? This is not Dark Souls level.
A couple times.
At least not yet.
No, I found it patronizingly easy as well.
Yeah.
Especially with how much there is. The areas get kind of spammy. The combat is drawn out and explored enough for it to feel like things are taking too long for how not challenging
it's be. Kind of wow, I agree. I was playing it and I saw the reviews of it, and of course the reviews are really top tier.
Super positive coverage got me into it too.
It's for me it reminds me a lot of Zelda. It is a very... I played the demo for Tunic when Tunic was on the Xbox demo thing over the summer. I don't know if you guys played the demo for Tunic. It reminds me a lot of what Tunic is trying to do. This isometric Zelda-like...
And Hob.
Yes.
Bro,
that's a
blast
blast
games,
from the past.
Right? That's what made me remember it. Yes. It just...
This is going a little bit towards trying to be somewhat like Dark Souls. And it makes sense because the guy... the people who made... Death's Door made Titan Souls. Do you remember that game?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
The one with the arrow, which was a straight up boss fight
Yeah, boss
where
rush,
you had one arrow that you had to scurry over and pick back up after shooting it.
Yeah, so, it's made by Acid Nerve, who made Titan Souls, so the inspiration is worn, dead on the sleeve. It's Dark Souls, but this one is definitely a bit more Zelda-like in its structure as well. The backtracking and everything. The puzzles, the backtracking as well. The backtracking,
light torches.
Yeah, and fire arrows at things.
Switches. Are there block puzzles? I haven't gotten any block puzzles yet, but other than that, the standard types are there.
I'm not 100% sure, but there's a lot of that in it. And for it being gorgeous and feeling really good, I found myself quite bored, if I'm honest. I was disappointed by the lack of variety and a lot of walking through very pretty but very blocky stone bridges and paths.
Yeah, when puzzles are in a game, because I'm not like a huge fan of puzzles. I could care less about puzzles, as long as they're cool looking, I'm fine with that. And maybe not too hard, Uncharted puzzles. Perfect, right? Cool looking, kind of simple, satisfying to complete. You're like, oh yeah, I got it. I'm smart. That feeling. I'm fine with that. I don't need to figure out like fucking, where the national treasure is. Like I don't need to figure all that stuff out. But everything is pretty much easy. Like it's self-explanatory. You go into a room and you're just like, I'm just doing this. I'm going through the motions. And I don't like to feel that when I'm playing a game. Like if I'm gonna sit down and play a game, I need to I don't know, feel challenged just a little bit. Like if that's what the game is going for. Like in Phenotopia, with the game I talked about last time, the puzzles in that game felt good. Like it was clever. You're like, oh, okay, I get it, because you get it through the game design of like how you went through the level beforehand. And then they kind of introduce it in a very smart way, in the next bit. In this one, you literally get fire. Oh, now I can do all the fire puzzles that I've been trying to do. Like it's just, I don't know. Like it falls flat for me. Not to say it's a bad game, but
yeah, it feels weird even calling them puzzles because they don't feel puzzling. Yeah. It's like the kind of situation where you see all of the mechanisms all on one screen, and in your head as soon as you see that what you got to do to unlock the gate, but you go through the motions. It's like a mechanism to unlock a door more than it is a puzzle. It's a broken machine more than it is a puzzle.
Right. Like you're going to your locker at school in the morning. It's like the combination already. You're just you have to do it to open it. Basically,
and you were talking about how it's not a bad game, but it is utterly unstimulating.
Yes, that's perfectly the way of articulating it. Yeah,
that is actually a very
yeah. And I need to be stimulated. I
sat there being like, wow, this game is so pretty, and oh my god, imagine being able to make this. And then playing it and being like, but is that the sacrifice of being able to do that? The team who made it is really small. Is that the sacrifice comes from potentially uninteresting moments? It doesn't really even have like that. Games like that especially those isometric ones, like Tunic had a little bit of this. It's that the wonder of where you are, the actual place that you're exploring. There's no... Because you're going through doors to what seemingly are unending places, they're just kind of like built up blocks behind floating doors. There wasn't really any mystery or anything that drew me to want to be exploring and out of anything other than OCD. Yeah, there is.
But they hide it behind cameras, basically, because you only have one angle. And you have to
go
behind
like
houses, and then the camera will turn.
Yeah, the forced rotation.
Yes. Yeah. I don't know. It's... Yeah.
It makes me wonder how kind of paint by numbers and fill in the blanks the design was behind the scenes, because I do feel like I was playing this game before. It feels a lot like Hollow Knight. The pause menus look a lot like Hollow Knight. You have giant empty spaces in your pause menu where your upgrade screen is going to fill in, so you kind of sort of have the abilities spoiled before you go through the game. It's so derivative that it almost seems like a waste of the cool characters and art that they came up with. Like when they were pitching together this product, it makes me wonder if the question they wanted to answer as a game development studio was less, how can we come up with an immersive, interesting way to explore our new original world and characters, or were they trying to ask themselves, can we make a competently designed Zelda clone or Dark Souls clone? Because they could. Like, it is well made. I can't fault it for that. It just feels so like this game was already made before they kind of colored in the lines with their world and their art. They took their world and their art and plugged it into a room where you have to activate 2 torches to open a gate on the other end with enemies that walk around in zigzag patterns that touch you from contact damage with the homing effect. It feels like 1,000 other games could have had this art style plugged into it, unfortunately.
It's kind of strange because I feel like they had the formula right the first time with Titan Souls, right? I'm not the biggest fan of like complete boss rushes, but the idea behind Death's Door is you are a Reaper going to meet somebody to take their soul, right? Or like, like one of the, what did they call it in Death's Door? Like large souls or something, right? Essentially straight from Dark Souls.
Colossal souls.
But the amount like you have to go through to get to them to then do the reaping, right, is just a bit too much. And it does feel like that uninspiring sort of pathway fighting grunt enemies.
Like a Zelda dungeon.
It's not even Zelda dungeon though, because Zelda dungeon, which hopefully I'll get onto because I've been playing Skyward Sword, is that if the bosses were sooner, more interesting, and they used what they did in Titan Souls to basically create these almost Shadow of the Colossus like experiences, where you're meeting unique bosses and the idea of the game is to defeat the bosses. I think that if they'd sort of reneged that for this one with that new art style and that kind of world, it could have been more interesting, I think. There's just too much filler in the middle. Like, I think the game's about 12 to 15 hours long, and it just doesn't need to be that long. Like, it doesn't.
Really? I wouldn't be able to last that long with that. With that same thing.
Some of the positive reviews say that the good stuff is towards the end.
Really?
It might be one of those situations.
For our 4 power-ups that is already in that wheel. So we can see exactly how many power-ups we're going to get and what things we're going to upgrade.
The level design might have some real clever twists for the last couple dungeons. Don't you love it when games do that?
So this is classic, it gets good after 10 hours?
It sounds like when I was going back over the positive coverage that got me into it, I was thinking to myself, really? What internet circle am I immersed in that got me to buy this game off of my social network coverage? And yeah, the asterisks at the bottom of the reviews are always like, last 2 dungeons are the best part of the game. So maybe we haven't seen the good stuff in Death's Door until later.
Last 2 dungeons? You've got to be kidding me.
Maybe, I don't know. Don't take my word for it. You might want to read
Play
some reviews and impressions
to get to the last 2 dungeons. I'm fine. It's got to be like 8 hours, right? It's got to be like 8 hours.
It's supposed to be a 10-hour game. It's not supposed to be a very big one.
Yeah, so another 6 hours then.
But I mean, if you are starved for a good Zelda-like, if you haven't played every Metroidvania on Steam like Matt has,
the Metroidvania king,
Phenotopia nailed that for me. I'm good now. I want a Persona game right now. I've been itching to play Royal so bad.
I feel you could do worse.
Bad.
It's like being addicted to drugs, Matt. Come on,
dude.
You know better.
Persona 4 was so fun. But I need to not play that game. 80 hours. That will suck everything away. I'll just be here in my room.
Have we played Metroid Other M here?
No.
when it first came out.
Would you say for like if you had a child who is not yet cynical and played too many games in their lives, would you rather sit them down with Metroid Other M or Death's Door for like Babby's first big Metroidvania, backtrack your way through a expanding map?
Are they my only choices? Because I wouldn't choose either.
Yeah, me either.
Death's Door is far better than Metroid Other M.
Death's Door is better than some real Metroid games, so it's not
only
not bad.
That Metroid. It's not bad at all. It's just, I guess, uninspiring, right? Like, I think that's the problem. It's not a bad game. It paints by the numbers.
It's too heavily inspired to be inspiring for the audience.
Yeah, I think it's not carving its own niche out. It's not going to be standing up at the end of the year, I don't think.
There's so many games to play though. Like they could play like Guacamelee or Dust or Hollow Knight or Ori or any one of those games.
Any one of those
games. Ori might be a bit hard, and so might be Hollow Knight if this is their first one, but they'll get through it. Bloodstain is also. I don't know why I still have fond memories of that game. I still really enjoyed it.
The only thing it's trying to do is, I think the only other game really like it isn't even out yet, and that's Tunic, which is this isometric. Maybe Below. Below is probably the only thing I can think of that's very similar, like pulled out isometric, kind of this inspired by Dark Souls, but also trying to do other Zelda-y things. But even then, Below kind of didn't register so well with most people, even though it took years to come out.
Tunic is cute.
Yeah, Tunic. But then I actually had very similar issues with Tunic, is that I think aesthetically Tunic is far more interesting. And it wears its Zelda inspirations massively on its sleeve. But it does a couple of things like that are very hard to explain without actually playing it.
The camera moves. The enemies are more active. They're not slow.
The enemies are more active for sure. And Tunic does this really interesting thing where it has its own like in-game language, and the menus are all in this foreign, glyph language that you don't know as the player. It draws you into that world by you basically then just using your brain to sort of piece those things together. And even though it's not hard, it's just a small part that gives that game a bit more personality. I mean, it's not out yet, so it's hard to judge, and I've only played the demo. But even with that one, it still did feel like it could be somewhat similar to Death's Door in its sort of uninspiring nature, I think.
Whereas
just where you're facing the same enemies.
Sometimes you can copy and nail it. And this is Tunic. I mean, come on. A green Tunic, yeah. But
it's Zelda. That one's more Zelda than anything.
Yeah.
Can I talk about a Zelda game?
All games copy from each other at this point. Not every single one, but a lot of them do.
They do.
Just adding your own spin to it. Yeah.
But there's just like some cases where you have like Assault and Sanctuary or something, where something's just so totally inspired and derivative, but still manages to like bring what's cool about the previous thing into a new perspective or something. And this still didn't. It still felt like
Hollow Knight. I mean, Hollow Knight is one of the greatest examples, right? Of like taking stuff from
so good
Metroid and Dark Souls and Castlevania and doing its own thing, right?
Oh my god, Hollow Knight 2.
It's fantastic.
You come into me.
It's Matt right back there.
This shit's been delayed for like years now, man.
But then it'll be good. Time makes all the difference.
I hope so. I hope so, man. I try not to get my hopes up with any of this stuff, but it's hard. It's hard to. I mean,
that's the way to do it.
Ori 2 was like a good side quest.
Oh yeah, you were really upset by that one. Oh,
don't get too hyped.
It was basically Hollow Knight. I played them for two separate things, and it basically became Hollow Knight, which is not. It's not a bad game, but it's not necessarily. I don't want to play Hollow Knight Ori X Ori. Like I want to play Ori, but
yeah.
Anyways, I don't want to play this game for this. I want to, I want to play it for the reason I fell in love with it in the first place, right? So
exactly.
Ori.
Yeah.
So,
Can I talk about a Zelda game? Speaking of Zelda,
we got a lot of, speaking of Zelda Metroidvania games where you complete a map that's a broken machine when you boot them up, where you get an ability that works in combat and also is a keyhole for specially shaped keys. There's no shortage of that in the world right now.
well, like a dummy,
Oh boy.
I purchased a HD remaster of a game that definitely doesn't look like it really needed a HD remaster anyway. Or at least, it's a bare bones HD remaster. I bought the old Skyward Sword. Not only that,
Not only.
I treated myself to the Skyward Sword Joy-Cons as well.
Oh, well, I mean, your previous ones, their days are numbered anyway. Everyone's Joy-Cons are not going to last into the 2040s as the future looks anyway. So
that was kind of my justification as well.
You refilled, you resubscribed to your Joy-Con subscription.
Yeah. So it's one of those situations, right, where I bought a game that I know I don't like.
That's the important question. Have you played Skyward Sword before? The HD?
Yes, I have,
okay.
but I did not like Skyward Sword, and like that comes from not necessarily like the game itself, but I thought the motion controls for that game were awful, hindered the game massively. Like, you had to recalibrate all the time, which pulls the game, the player out of the immersion of the game. And secondly, trying to do sword fights with bosses, they're not hard, but they're time consuming because you never get the motions right on the Wii. It was bad. So all I ever wanted to do was play this game with button controls.
Well,
la-di-da,
lo and
what did
behold.
Nintendo go and do? Lo and behold, they added a button control mode. But guess what? It's not a button control mode because Nintendo don't like good controls. They don't care about...
They've heard your call.
No, not answered. Awful. Awful. Like Nintendo don't like people playing alternate controls, and they don't like players being able to customize their own controls for whatever God knows reason in 2021. So Skyward Sword, the HD collection, it's very pretty. They've done a decent job. They've cut a lot of corners as well. But this is a game where its art style, I think, similar to Wind Waker, carries itself. It's by no means, Wind Waker in terms of its timelessness.
But on emulators, that game was gorgeous.
It is gorgeous, and it's gorgeous again now. They haven't fixed the sky, which Barry complained about in that very long video once.
It's called Skyward
P.
Sword. Half of every screenshot, the overworld. How did they?
Yeah, it looks like pee. But
Wow.
it's still a gorgeous looking game, and the characters, I've got to admit, for a Zelda game, the characters are great designs. I really like the style of like the sort of like Skyloft's people. They're almost like Native American inspired, I think. They have a lot of feathers and long dresses. Of course, they get a lot of influence from birds and being in the sky. I actually think the designs are really cool, and I kind of didn't pay attention to the first time. Like, this version of Link, maybe my favorite version of Link, and definitely my favorite version of Zelda. She is, do it for her, protect her until the end of days. She's great. And that surprised me. I really enjoyed, actually, the opening act of this game. They've done a lot to cut down in the tutorials that people complained about. People don't bug you as much anymore.
So it's more than just changing sword combat to button press combat.
They stream... Well, I'll get to that. So they streamlined, the intro a little bit. And I actually enjoyed the intro. It gives, it's a Zelda game that has a bit more heart to it and gives you a bit more to fight for than, other games. Maybe not as well. I think people at this point both underrate and also, go ham on Ocarina of Time. But you think the build-up of being a child to meeting Zelda to then the moment that Ganondorf steals Zelda and leaves Ocarina, like that's a powerful story moment, right? And I don't think Zelda games have carried that ever since, really, to be honest. The individual aspects of Majora's Mask aside, the actual stories of Link and Zelda, I don't think have ever gone that great, especially in Breath of the Wild. But, so, game's fine. It's fine. It's a linear Zelda game. Very linear. And after playing Breath of the Wild being the last Zelda game I played, like, it's very odd. It is very linear. Like, I don't remember Zelda games being this linear, but they are. I don't even know if Ocarina of Time is this linear, actually, but it's incredibly linear, and it's kind of nice. It's kind of nice to just sit back and be like, let's go on a guided tour of the Zelda world, right? Yeah. Like, lead me on, fellas. Let's do this. So I kind of like that, but it is very linear. You can see a lot of what they pulled from Breath of the Wild in this game. Like, there's a lot here. The wheel. Yeah, the stamina wheel, the sailcloth, the different weapons, the chemistry of, like, the bombs and the different environments and stuff. It's fine. I don't know. Skyward Sword, it's fine. I don't think it's a masterpiece by any means. I'm not that far into it, only about 10 hours or so. But button controls. So I haven't actually tried the motion controls of this version. I imagine they're somewhat better, but I still heard there's a lot of recalibration issues. So I basically just was like, fuck that shit. I had problems with that in the original place. I'm going to go with these beautiful new button controls and play in a handheld. Tell me, when was the right stick ever a button? Is that a button?
It can be.
Is that a button?
Emulator options menu.
Is the right stick a button? No, it isn't.
The look and feel of a button can be captured by the subjective experience of the right stick.
No, the right stick is not a button. And Nintendo sold me down a goddamn river because instead of the motion controls, what it asks you to do is it asks you to flick or move the right stick in, like, a direction similar to if you were slashing a sword. So if you flick the stick to the left, it'll do like a horizontal cut to the left. If you flick it to the right, it'll do a horizontal cut to the right.
So it's like
up, down, omnidirectional, etc.
Like playing a whole game with the controls of riding the sword at the last 10 minutes of Metal Gear Solid 2 from 2001.
Or Metal Gear Solid Rising Revengeance if you were being extremely kind. It's a bit more like Okami and moving the paintbrush than it is anything slick. Now, in theory as well, that would be a cool idea. You flick it right, cut right. Flick it left, cut left. Guess what? Not that responsive. Doesn't really work that well. Kind of is annoying. So button controls my ass. I think the only button they're referring to is the absolutely degradingly dumb idea. I'm sorry, Papa Nintendo, but this is the stupidest thing. So you can use the right stick now to free cam. So in the original Skyward Sword, because you only had one left analog stick and a Wiimote, it was a fixed camera, right? So it was always behind Link and he would move and then it would swing in the direction of him. That kind of old school thing that we just got rid of. The right stick is for using camera controls. And it is so much better. Now the biggest problem is they put the fucking sword on that stick as well. So it makes you, by default, and you cannot change this, you have to hold the L button down on the shoulder button and then use the stick to move the camera. To just move the camera. Because they made the sword a tool you don't use that often as the default.
Well, maybe it's to emulate the look and feel of hoisting a camera over your left shoulder and then moving it around to get good pans of the shot as one were to do in real life when moving a camera around.
I cannot begin to explain how much I hate it. Like, I hate it. You forget all the time. So what do? You end up swinging your sword, wasting time, and then you got to put your sword away, and then you got to use the camera. It doesn't make sense to me that, one, it's not changeable. Why not just let me change it? So many games have mappable controls now. Nintendo, there is no excuse. There isn't.
I guess it's a really good thing that Zelda games don't have friendly fire, then.
Well, that's the thing, is in Skyloft, they tell you, like, oh, Link, don't take your sword out, you'll scare the people. Like, they literally tell you that in the sword tutorial.
Well, then don't make the controls like that.
And the other part is, by default, wouldn't it make more sense that the thing you use more often, the camera, would be default right stick, and then you engage the tool by pressing L and then the stick? That makes so much more sense to me. Whoever made this control system needs to be fired into the sun through the piss-colored sky of Skyloft.
This reminds me of what it was like when I got my non-gamer friends to play Grand Theft Auto when they were trying their hardest to be a decent citizen, but every button on the controller is like an aim your gun at this random guy button, a shoot this guy, a punch this guy button. Like, just walking around normally in video games without knowing the controls can create some hilariously butterfly effect comedy situations, and this just seems like a Simpsons gag. Like, the control layout of that sounds like a gag for that kind of joke.
It just doesn't make any sense, honestly. But I mean, I don't really want to stop playing. It's been like a fun... It does feel very nostalgic, actually. Because, this type of Zelda game, it's been a while. Breath of the Wild now was, 4 or 5 years ago. And before that, Skyward Sword and Twilight Princess HD was on the Wii U. This has been a while since we've had like an old school style Zelda game. I mean, Link's Awakening came out, but I didn't play that.
It's almost 10 years.
That's a little different.
November 18th, 2011.
It's been a while, so it feels kind of good, nostalgic. It's, I get home, I'm tired. I am really tired at the moment. So these days, when I can have something just be like, hey, follow the north. Go north constantly. Just go north. And I'm not talking like Death Door's uninspiring, because at least Skyward Sword has a few interesting characters and moments in it. But fuck me, like, God, allow me to change the controls, guys, please. Yeah, so button controls, not really. Stick controls, okay. Stick controls that don't work so well, combined with the dumbest camera control in modern history. Play Skyward Sword.
Same button for looking around as you swing your sword around.
As your weapon. So,
do they care a lot about which direction you're swinging the sword? Like, does it actually matter if it's left, right, up, down?
And that's the frustrating part, because Skyward Sword actually has a good, interesting, engaging combat system, which is you have enemies who have shields who block in different directions. Therefore, you have to think about where you're swinging your sword. Unlike every other video game where you just press A, right? Or B.
A lot of sword swinging going on.
Just swing that sword. Now, if the stick controls actually worked correctly, like they were responsive enough, and it felt like just at the flick of a button, flick of a stick, not a button, I could do a cross slash or something, it really would be quite an interesting combat system. I probably should go try the motion controls and see, but I don't want to do that. I want the button controls. I want to play in handheld mode, because for as good as this game looks on, the HD remaster on a TV, it looks so good at the handheld, with my new Joy-Cons. It looks pretty and lovely. I want to enjoy it the way I want to enjoy it. It's like the Star Fox Zero thing all over again. I don't want to play the way Miyamoto thought would be an interesting way. Like, I want to just play like a good video game.
With the officially licensed Skyward Sword Joy-Cons you bought, you will look like the ideal consumer when trying out the motion mode.
Maybe I should just walk around Kyoto long enough to find him and kick him in his groin and be like, "What were you thinking?" Kick Miyamoto around his dick. What do you call these controls? Do better. Although sorry, go ahead, Judge.
That's gotta be some kind of crime against gaming. Like, isn't there a law against? Yeah, that's just a regular crime, come to think about it.
Today is gaming news. Indie dev kicks Miyamoto in the balls.
Think of what you will do to the reputation of gamers if you kick Miyamoto in the balls.
Gamers won't have me. I'm not a gamer. I can't even finish Death's Door, let alone anything else. I'm the worst kind of gamer. I'm the tired gamer now. That's what they should call me. Angry, tired gamer. Not even angry. Mildly positive, tired gamer. I think it'll take off. Although, I want to leave you with this parting thought. As the PC master race you both are.
Yeah.
60 frames Zelda.
Yeah,
there's no way back.
Kicking him.
There's no way back from this.
Kicking him in the nuts is probably the only way to make that normal. Like, you gotta go right at the source.
It should be the only way.
It is so much better.
Absolutely.
Zelda in 60 frames is so much better. I usually don't care. but it's so noticeably different. I am going to be very sad if Breath of the Wild 2, which obviously is going to be 30 frames,
Oh yeah,
isn't in 60 frames.
It's gonna be like 25 on that Switch.
I would argue with you on a good day, but no, I think you're right.
Plug it into an emulator, and you got these problems
Yeah,
solved.
but the emulators are not as good yet. They're not as good yet. But like, yeah, like that's just exactly why sometimes I go to the emulator, because you can get like 4K HD crazy shit, and it's like, man, I don't even want to play on consoles. I don't want to play on the emulator.
It like unlocks the potential of those art styles. Like years before Skyward Sword HD and Wind Waker HD, you could plug those games in an emulator, and as good as they looked on a TV, like it does look like they were meant to be viewed in 1080p. It is absurd how gorgeous Wind Waker is, especially from 2003. That game looks like it was meant to be seen in a full crystal clear HD resolution, where every crisp little corner and spike is visible on camera.
Art style goes a long way. Like, it goes a long, long way. And it's the same in Skyward Sword. And the game in 60 frames is really nice. It's very nice to play. It looks very nice. Nintendo really needs to know that there are, Nintendo games look gorgeous, but they can be even more gorgeous and better in 60 frames. Like, give me
Nintendo
60
games have
frames,
been in
Nintendo.
480p for the last decade, so
What's what's this problem with the sky looking like piss?
I mean, look at it.
Yeah, it could look
wanna
like
see that yellow?
pillowy mounds of mashed potatoes. I'm looking for like a sunset or a sunrise scene. Maybe that's what you need for the piss to really hit you.
No, it's very brown. Barry did a great video on it.
Maybe I'm too colorblind to see the piss.
That's true. Maybe you're blessed with unseeing piss abilities.
Ignorance is piss.
I keep thinking about that. It's like, what if George gets
Stamped, and he doesn't know
those
he's bleeding.
colorblind glasses, and then he completely changes? Like, just
Because
everything
the misery-
changes. Yeah, like his whole
The
personality.
misery magnet.
Yeah. All of a sudden, he's like all positive and shit. Like, I don't know, guys. Like, the world is just beautiful.
Wait,
I
this is what you guys have been seeing this whole time.
turn into a crypto investor.
Yes.
Look, guys, I didn't purchase crypto until I could see the colors of life.
Yep. Yep.
That would be so funny. You know what it'd be like? He'd be like, "Oh, I wonder what the colors in VR finally look like. The pure colors. I can finally play VR games with the correct color."
I have to replay through Super Hot VR all over again. So
Oh, would you look at that? Everything's white, black, and red.
I could see
just as I imagined.
see the vividness of those newspaper colors and full clarity of having normal looking eyeballs. Because I don't know. I mean, maybe the art style of things look better to me if the sky in Skyward Sword doesn't look like piss.
Wait, those colorblind glasses are pretty cheap. Why don't we try this?
I've heard that they don't
How much are
actually work that well. They just
Like
kind of
300, 400?
Wait, that's cheap. That's not cheap.
That's kind of cheap for like
it's cheap
something
for you. Yeah, it's cheap.
Yeah, it's
for
cheap
getting-
for something like life changing, right?
Yeah.
Isn't it meant to be life changing?
No, that I've read it that they don't like make you see the new colors. They just kind of adjust the filtering options, your post processing.
Look, I love post processing. So
But I don't know if post processing will make like a new shade of cyan that I was unable to see before appear where it was not before. It's not making
go
new
halvesies?
cones show up in your eyes.
We can go halvesies on the best colorblind glasses.
Oh my gosh.
also, I'm not, I hope, being ableist here, but how would a colorblind person know if they're seeing perfect colors?
By testing it against everyone else in the room. That's
Yeah, but what if you were like, that's red, and they were like, no, it's kind of brown, but you were seeing the perfect color,
then
and everyone was like, no, George, it's brown, and you're like, it's red,
oh, so what you're saying
and you were right,
is
and everyone else was wrong.
yeah, well, that's just how it works anyway, for real. Like
you mean your absence of color is the perfect world?
it's everyone else who's the weirdo. I'm the only normal
No
one.
wonder you're like Cruelty Squad. You're the only person who can look at it.
Maybe my color blindness makes the color choices of Cruelty Squad. Okay, that's a whole bag of worms, actually, because I talked to
Oh no.
some art school graduate who was like, no, whoever made Cruelty Squad was knowingly breaking the rules. The color choices make sense. They're just the opposite of what they tell you. Like Cruelty Squad has some depth and intention into it. Anyways.
Yeah, there's no way you could just throw a bunch of different colors together and just make it work that way. There's no way.
There's
There's
thought.
like garbage on purpose.
It's Picasso, man. It is literally Pablo Picasso. It is someone knowingly breaking all the rules in a way that still ticks the human subjective experiences of art. And that's the masterpiece we're dealing with here. I don't know. I kid. I exaggerate, but
Woo!
in all seriousness, though, the developer of Cruelty Squad, Vili Kallio, I believe, I'm probably not pronouncing it correctly, his Twitter feed is absolutely hilarious. Because, the game is, like, deliberately designed to be kind of trashy and humble, so to speak. And all this positive coverage keeps coming out. Like, PC Gamer gave it a 93. And then there's a there's a Dunky review of it that was put out a couple days ago.
I actually did watch that. Yeah, I think I watched that today, actually. And I was like, oh, wow, Cruelty Squad in motion is vomit-inducing.
That'll definitely give it some spikes in sales, and the guy himself is just completely flabbergasted that people are taking the game actually seriously. Like, there's so many tweets that are just like, I am just some mentally ill shit poster. Why are people taking my game seriously? It's a fun Twitter to follow.
Wait, what? Seriously?
Yeah, that's what he tweeted. I mean, that wasn't the exact quote, but it was along those lines. It was the very, very self-deprecating, the fully embracing how bad the product is supposed to look is that guy's shtick.
Cool. He built it using a plugin for Godot called Quodo, and it basically just is an MP map file plugin that allows you to import Quake maps into Godot and then fuck around with them from a level design. That's so cool. So basically, you just imported Quake maps and then made levels out of them.
They look like 1996 Quake maps. Man, there's like even some real interesting stuff going on in that game in terms of technical limits like view distance and fog. Like a level that we covered in fog will be designed in a way to where a visually interesting point of views that you're supposed to be looking at are being rendered in the distance but not up close, where you'll see like mountains show up in the way of an exit sign that was supposed to be behind them. Anyways, yeah, Cruelty Squad's a very interesting game. I've talked about it already enough on this podcast, though, and should have a video out if I'll actually get on my ass and do work and have it on the main channel. Anyways,
Space Jam.
Wait, we're talking about Space Jam now?
I fucking watched it.
Was it any...
How is that trash?
Last night, I was like, let me look at the reviews.
No segue, just shout in Space Space Jam.
Yeah, I saw that it was shit. I was like, all right.
Oh, no.
I rolled up one, set on the bed, lit it up,
okay,
ready for a very fun-filled night. And I wasn't disappointed. It was hot garbage. But
Man,
it was fun to watch.
they're just disrespecting the legacy, the artistry, the masterpiece of Space Jam 1 is getting shat all over.
I mean, come on. Space Jam was also garbage too. I love Space Jam, but it was also pretty bad. But I mean, Bill Murray was in that one. You know what I mean? Like Bill Murray was in
It's about Michael Jordan confronting his vulnerabilities of his like perfection competitiveness problem back when he was trying to get into minor league baseball, and when he is tasked with the one enemy that he can't overcome, he has to look within himself and teach his kid to be better than he is, and Space Jam has depth and meaning because of that and stuff. I don't know. There was a really good Super Eye Patch Wolf video about it that you guys should all watch. Who's listening.
That story is way better than trying to beat your kid at basketball because he wants to make video games for a living. It's way way better than that.
Oh my god, it's always the gamers. It's always the gamers. Even in Hollywood, it's the gamers.
Oh yeah, like literally there's a line that says, "Oh, look kids, video games does pay off in the end." And I was just like, damn.
90s humor, huh? 90s parent humor.
Yeah, it's just like basically that's what LeBron was. He was a dad. He did dad jokes. He acted like a dad. Like he has no acting ability. Zero.
Aw, I thought LeBron would be all right.
Well, I mean, Michael Jordan didn't either.
I'm sorry to say, but he has no acting ability. It was fine for what this is, for sure. But everyone else knew how to act, and he was just like this, stuck out like a sore thumb. Like, I love you, kid. I love you too, Dad. Like,
okay, Pepper. I love you.
Out their heart out. Just
good job,
man.
Yeah, get it.
But
I'm LeBron.
But you think
you gotta
like
try. I'm the king. You gotta try. You know what I'm saying? You gotta like. It's just like, come on. Like, what are you doing? Like,
did you think
edited this shit? Like I could have made some of those camera angles could have been better for sure. Especially, oh my god. But like, it was fun to watch. Like, I don't know, see Bugs Bunny and all that again. But I feel like they had less character this time around. The first one everyone had like their place, you know, Porky Pig and all that type of stuff. Like everyone here, they just seem like a backdrop almost.
He's the notorious PIG.
Yeah. That's the thing. Like that's like the only part that the pig has. That Porky Pig has. That's it.
It's so weird because in the original Space Jam, I actually like the Michael Jordan real life parts than I did the actual like Toon Squad moments. Apart from when Bill Murray turns up at the end.
Right, because
serious Space Jam talk.
It was a real thing.
Yeah, like I liked it. Right. It made a lot of coherent sense and had a lot of consistency to it.
Let's go full in. Does Space Jam: A New Legacy have the lasting impressions to later develop these 20-year later YouTube retrospective essays that are like Space Jam: A New Legacy is actually a work of genius this whole time?
Because they keep calling him the king, they keep calling him the top, they keep calling him, like, I get it, like he's a great basketball player, like I get it, but like it's just like you keep hearing that throughout the whole film, and it's just like, is this a movie or are we just talking about how great this guy is? Like it's just like a flex almost.
Was he? Like, I know he's no Michael Jordan, but I mean,
I think he is, right? I don't know who
knows
basketball.
LeBron is like, look, I'm the non-American here, for fuck's sakes. Like even I know LeBron is up. No one is Michael Jordan, but LeBron is up there.
He's up there as one of the best players. I know that, but it's just like hearing it all the time. Like it just takes away from the movie. Takes away from the movie, man.
Tell me what was your favorite awkward cameo? That, of course, in the thousands of cameos that have been.
This is awkward, but it was funny. They're like, oh, we found Michael Jordan, and they're doing the whole announcement bit because they were at halftime for the main game. And they're like, oh, Michael Jordan, and then Michael B. Jordan pops out. He's like, I was just in the stands, like, yeah, and yeah.
Okay,
and
that's pretty good. I actually like that one.
And LeBron was like, nah, and then he left. Now
That's pretty good. I like that.
It was really funny.
Don't Rick and Morty turn up at one point as well?
Yes.
Oh my
Those were the
God.
best parts. The best parts were seeing Looney Tunes inside of like DC worlds and shit like that.
Oh, like other cartoons. And
yes.
stuff.
Oh,
it
wait.
was fucking cool. Like those parts were fun.
Wait,
Those were the only parts that were fun.
we
Sadly,
gotta
like that's it.
we gotta talk about the travesty against freedom of speech and the development of Western civilization that was their cruel censorship-filled decision to make Lola Bunny less sexy in this one.
Okay, did you guys see I think I keep showing you guys this guy, but I know you guys forget. There's this guy
The internet's full of a lot
who
of
made
guys.
Fuck Adobe. Fuck
Okay.
Adobe. He made this thing. He makes really good fucking like art, video art.
Okay.
He made this one. I gotta send you. I'll probably give it so people can see it in the description too. He made this one where he made Lola Bunny with, and he had the. All right, you know what? Forget that. He made a video about that. I'll show it to you later. But yes, Lola Bunny became this really cool and collected character. In this one, she just acts like a regular supportive character. It's very weird.
No
She's like, "Yeah, I got
sexiness
you."
at all.
She's like a team player. She's like
Nothing.
she's
No
ahead of the game.
saxophones.
Everyone else is, huh?
No saxophones in the background. No sexiness whatsoever.
No sexiness whatsoever. She's actually you see her become an Amazon in Wonder Woman. It's actually fucking cool. Like when you see her do the whole trial thing, and Wonder Woman is like, "Oh, you've trained years for this," and blah blah blah. That's the world they find her on. It's like fucking Kingdom Hearts is what Space Jam: New Legacy is.
Okay, that's it. That's all I need to know. Space Jam is
That's
Kingdom Hearts.
great marketing for the gamers too. Something for everyone.
It's Space Jam lore, and after that part, and they do reference that they have done this before, the whole basketball game thing with Michael Jordan. But yeah, she just becomes this character that's always supportive to everyone, team player and shit. And it's actually quite nice, to be honest. I don't know, I didn't see anything wrong with it.
Yeah, but Matt,
Yeah.
if they made the bunny sexier, then I don't know why do they make the bunny sexier? It's not to sell toys. I guess it's to market it to. If they made the bunny less sexy, there might be less horny boys in the audience paying them money to see it. That's why they made the bunny sexy in the original one,
I
right?
had to deal with
The horny boy ticket sale phenomenon of the pre-internet age, where you couldn't just find whatever artwork of Lola Bunny you want with a quick search away. You had to watch Space Jam starring Michael Jordan all the way through.
I'm okay without Boob Bunny. It's okay. It's okay.
I don't know, dude. I feel a vein popping.
The video is called My Only Lola Bunny. It's by James Lee. The guy makes amazing trash. Amazing trash. I've been watching him for a while now. He's amazing.
Yeah, you did send me that. It captured my imagination.
He's one of the best people I've followed in a while, man.
That video, that's what I see when I close my eyes and I think about what they did to her.
Yes. What they did to her.
The Warner Brothers are absolutely trying to stifle the development of this burgeoning young actress.
I mean, we could dive deep into this stuff, but I would love one day we should. This is too uneven on this side because we can't talk about this stuff when it's so uneven on this side. We have all males, a sausage fest in here, and we need to change that. God
We
damn
are
it!
demanding the sexualization of Lola Bunny.
Oh my
Or
god!
at least I am.
No, I could care less. I could care less as long as the characters are cool. But yeah, I guess I take back what I said. Like I guess there were a few parts. I mean, they can't make the movie any longer.
How long is it?
It was 2 hours.
2 hours.
How did
2
they
hours?
stretch out Space Jam for 2 hours?
I think it was 2 hours, dude. I remember being
my
30 minutes in. I was
God.
like, damn, shit, 30 minutes in? Like, shit, it was an hour and 30 left. I'm like, ah.
I mean, is there any like redeeming message to it about like the athlete overcoming their
yourselves.
competitiveness?
As LeBron says it, be yourselves, be yourselves, be yourselves. And he repeats it over and over
like a
again.
button on a toy.
Oh,
Which definitely
man.
exists.
I just know all my black people in the crowd are just like laughing because like he's so blackly daddish awkward. Like it's on point. It's on point. Yeah. And so I was like, damn, LeBron, what you doing, man? But like, hey, I did. There was a lot of cool things in it. I did enjoy it. It's kind of a trash movie, but I kind of enjoyed it as well. So
I mean, obviously, it's going to be
not gonna win
trash
any
if they put more clothes coverage on Lola Bunny.
Oh my god. Oh my
You
god.
just-
Who cares? I don't understand
The
why
American
people care about that type of
people.
stuff. Oh Jesus, Trump. Okay, man. It's been a while since I even heard that name. Ugh.
You brought him up. Where did he even
I
come
need some
from?
vinegar.
I would not recommend guzzling vinegar before we get into the news section this week.
People who want Lola Bunny to have boobs again are the same people who won't take their vaccine.
Make Lola Bunny's boobs great again.
They're also the same people who run Blizzard, it seems.
Oh shit! What happened at Blizzard?
Okay. So what had happened with Blizzard is
Oh boy.
I'm scrolling down.
is
I brace myself?
what has started to become a boilerplate familiar news story involving a frat boy culture developing at a large AAA Fortune 500 game development publishing company.
What?
The state of California apparently conducted a 2-year investigation with inspectors from the California Department of Fair Employment and Housing.
Oh shit!
They are suing Activision Blizzard based on discriminatory practices involving the 20% of female workers there getting routinely, statistically, mathematically discriminated against when facing compensation, promotion, assignments, termination. But they also found out that on some more casual levels, women were delegated more busy responsibilities on days where men just kind of wanted to play Call of Duty in the office all day.
What the fuck?
Which sounds new. Another
Wait,
new term Call of Duty. Women were delegated responsibilities by men in favor of playing Call of Duty.
You can do this shit at Blizzard? Blizzard?
Women of color were
What
particularly
the
vulnerable
fuck?
targets of discriminatory practices. An African-American employee noted that it took her 2 years to be made into a permanent employee, while men hired after her were made permanent employees. She was micromanaged such that her male co-workers were known to be playing video games without any intervention by her supervisor, but her supervisor would call and check on her if she took a break to go on a walk.
Man, this reminds me of some racist shit. But yeah. Minority shit in general. It just sucks.
They apparently were doing a thing called cube crawls, in which male employees drink copious amounts of alcohol as they crawl their way through various cubicles in the office and often engage in inappropriate behavior towards female employees.
And I'm assuming the guys in the office don't speak up. So if they don't speak up, just letting this be.
Complicit.
Because they're afraid for their job or some bullshit like that. Wow.
Yeah,
80% of men and none of them say shit. Like, I would love to just talk with one of these people.
Like, I'm so glad. The one thing I'm so glad about, and I really want to highlight, is 2-year investigation. 2 years.
Jesus.
This ain't some just random accusation bullshit. This is 2 years of a state investigating you because you're so garbage that it takes 2 years to compile the amount of bullshit that has been happening in your studio.
And they're right.
That
they're
is
right down the
so
street from
damning.
me, from where I work. We know a guy that goes there. He went out for drinks with us. Like that.
Maybe he has some
Just to
stories.
think about it. And he seemed like an okay guy.
Yeah, maybe if you can get him to share some stories, he might have some.
I doubt.
Some
He's
nightmare
OG.
tales.
He's
So-
OG.
So there's one thing I saw that, I mean, helps put things a bit more into perspective about like Blizzard at large and that kind of thing. You got to remember, Blizzard is a massive studio, right? And Activision Blizzard in general. So most of the time, when you work at studios that size, you work in a team of like 10 to 20 people, and that is your life, right? You may work at a big studio, but you actually only work in a small team.
Right.
And and that's why you feel like your creative control and whatnot doesn't extend anywhere. It's like you feel like a cog in a machine because you are part of a massive machine and your stuff doesn't get very far. And you usually work in a small team. So keeping track of all these, small departments that are smaller teams that are made up of even smaller teams then that make up this big machine means that who the fuck knows what is happening in a team down the corridor to you that you barely interact with on a day-to-day basis, right? Or who runs that team. It's like being in school and you don't have a certain teacher and then people tell you horror stories about a teacher and you be like, oh, you're lucky you don't have Mr. Weedman. That guy's a prick, right? But you go to the same school. But you don't know who he is because you don't take these lessons. It seems like Blizzard has fostered this environment where within those smaller teams, people just gone away with absolute shit. It's horrendous.
Yeah.
Just
I don't know how you hide that stuff, but yeah, because I mean, I guess most people don't really pay attention to stuff.
If the
and I get
states
that.
If the states involved, it was a pretty open secret, probably because there was.
Okay, see, that's what I'm saying. So like that's I don't know. That's an excuse. Oh, it's not my team. Like, nah, man, slap me if I was.
I don't know.
If I was on another team and I knew about that shit.
They probably heard stuff, but I think it's that thing, right, where. And this is why this is not an excuse as why these things happen. It's more of just like how that people can get away with it and what we need to be more consciously aware of. People who turn up to do their 9 to 5 who don't know anything about certain members on another team because they never interact with them, right? Even if you hear horror stories, it's kind of like, I haven't seen it happen. I don't know that person, etc., etc. And I guess you just imagine those things will never affect you. And it comes to a time when it's like this, and it's like, okay, people need to change. Like, if you hear that shit, or you hear even rumors about it, like, it needs to be called up.
One of the reasons this has gone beyond rumors, why it was an investigation from the state and not a lawsuit or a settlement from anonymous employees, is that there was a death involved. Once that happens, it becomes a lot harder for the authorities to ignore it. One of the things the lawsuit outlines is that one of the female Activision employees took her own life while on a company trip, partially because the employee had nude photos passed around at a company holiday party. Apparently
be fucking kidding me.
Yeah, that brings this to a new low, that like even the worst stories of Ubisoft, of like one of their bosses, Haskowit, like feeding the employees edibles. Apparently that is less illegal than inducing a suicide here, and that's where we're at. That's the new low that we have been brought to after the allegations in this lawsuit now
I would like to say this is only in video games, but it is not.
No.
What we're talking about here.
No, it's absolutely not.
Oh, yeah. No,
everywhere.
not by a long shot.
It's just that when you get a bunch of nerds together, I don't know, man.
It's the egos of a
It seems a little
creative
bit more
industry.
awful, you know?
And
like,
in this sort of...
And they're like, oh, not our crew. Yep. our crew.
And in any of these sorts of businesses, even the church, where you can foster a attitude of celebrity, where people won't question things from individuals that have power and authority.
The pastor gets around, my friend.
If you're in a position of influence like that, a lot of people are just mathematically tuned to take advantage of it.
Yeah. Man. Wow.
It's
bad. That is bad.
It's so bad.
And
it's like
I hope those dudes get it good. Let me tell you, if you if you agree with some of these dudes and how they act, man, go somewhere, man. Don't listen to this podcast.
I feel
you're a shit person, man.
Like we are getting to a point where some of the dudes might be sweating over like, oh God, am I facing criminal charges here? Might I go to prison? Because one of the things that I reread the Jason Schreier Ubisoft piece. It alleges that one of the bosses at Ubisoft, they name the guy in particular, fed the company weed edibles without telling them at a party. And that is super duper illegal. There are some American states where that is like a 5 to 16 year prison statement if proven. If there actually is evidence behind that, then yeah, that is worse. That will fuck you up worse than losing a lawsuit or having to pay people millions of dollars to stay quiet. We might be getting to that.
You don't know the dosage, right?
I mean, they don't know. It was mentioned in one of Jason Schreier's anonymous sources. Basically, corroborated that claim, and it did not go beyond a claim in the news article.
For context here, if people know nothing about marijuana, if someone has not been smoking or does not smoke, and you give them an edible,
and they don't know it,
depending on how good quality that edible is, it will throw them on a loop.
And then they try to drive a car home.
It will be significantly harder to drive a car home. Yes.
And then they get in a wreck and die
because they're not used to it. They're not used to the high. They're not like their mind is just going to constantly race.
And the company is liable because one of the bosses did it. And I don't understand how more people didn't fixate on that part of the problem. But it does feel like we might be eking towards a place where harassment from rich bosses in the game industry are actually getting people killed now.
Okay. Well, that sucks. And,
It's so weird. Like, looking back at Rockstar, and of course we've talked about crunch and stuff like that, but I think about like the just general shit people in power at that studio would just say that you would just take. Like straight up political bullying, right? Mm-hmm. And this is not specifically a gender-based or racial thing. It was just pure power abuse. Mm-hmm. The studio I worked in was a localization studio as well, so it's highly multicultural. We had people from 20 different countries for the 20 languages that GTA was obviously going out in, and that meant it was very multicultural and very gender diverse. But everyone was subjected to the same torrent of abuse from like people in power. It was like, turn up on Saturday and do your fucking job, or otherwise you're fired. No, we're not giving you a bonus. You don't turn up for overtime. And it was fine. Like they'd been doing it for like 15 years, and no one had ever pulled them up on it until Jason Schreier did. And it just it's funny just looking back at it, and being like, you can't fight it. Like, you get fired, or you just don't. You turn up, right, and you work so hard, and the last thing you want to do is paint yourself a target on your back, and that is horrible. Like, it's horrible that you go to your job and you get abused, or you worry about not being paid your bonus or your overtime pay or whatever, or worse, getting fired because you posted something on Facebook they didn't like or something like that. And you can't argue back because if you were going to plan to stay there for your career, there's no way you'd get promoted, or anything like that. And it is just that kind of.
This is because even for myself, when I have to deal with this type of stuff, I make sure that I have things going on separate from this job. or any other job that I take. Because if some weird shit happens, I'm probably going to open my mouth. Because I've in the past. I
definitely do way more now.
Way more now, right? And that comes with confidence and I guess also financial security. And like making sure, like, you know what, guess what? You don't own me because you pay me.
Yeah, that Patreon confidence has come through in a lot of cases for me.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like if you don't put your foot down, especially early on, shit, people will walk over you, man.
People will walk all over you, and my God, like myself more so than of course Matt for obvious reasons, especially in America. But fuck me, do we both have an advantage above any women, or people who identify as women who work in game studios? Because people don't take them seriously. Joke, oh, you're adorable. Oh, don't worry, we'll sort you out. Like the condescending
Go
nature
respond
towards,
to emails while I play Warzone.
The mansplaining.
Don't worry.
The mansplaining is pretty fucking deep, though. Let me tell you.
Yeah.
Let me tell you.
I
can't imagine. Like, it's like, listen, women are smart. Like that, they're not your wives and little daughters. But yeah. Anyways,
are you implying that like wives and daughters aren't?
We're just trying to teach people. We're preaching to the choir here. Our people who listen to us don't believe in the.
Be kind.
Be kind.
Treat people with respect.
People, I was wondering.
All people, man. Black, white, purple.
I was wondering if this reckoning that is happening at Activision and at Ubisoft right now too for this week is connected at all or can be utilized at all, if the momentum can be leveraged at all into the unionization effort, because they are able to organize employees into signing open letters these days. Over 1,000 employees among the Activision Blizzard King Empire have signed on to an open letter condemning the allegations and the boss's response to the allegations. The boss has issued a statement saying that, this is a frivolous lawsuit by unchecked state bureaucrats.
Ugh.
There was kind of the implication that the California Department for Fair Housing and Employment, the California Department of Fair Employment and Housing is implied to be an unchecked state bureaucracy that is able to start frivolous lawsuits over any little thing, according to the statement that Blizzard issued in response to the lawsuit. 1,000 plus employees have signed an open letter condemning that response. When IGN took that article down that was funneling traffic aid towards the Palestinian refugee charities, there were a large group of staffers. I think in their case it was something like 80 or so, a tenth of the amount in the Activision Blizzard King world. But yeah, getting people to sign an open letter sure does seem quick and efficient and responsive. I wonder if is the kind of response we should expect with from a union, should one exist.
Power in numbers. Honestly, power in numbers.
There's numbers.
When we wanted
there.
Stuff to happen to Rockstar, it needed people. It needed overwhelming. It needed comments. Like, you can see it so many times on like studio internal boards, some bad decision by management that no one would comment on or do anything, and they just go through like nothing happens, right? As soon as one person, does the hard step forward to be like, yo, nah, fuck this. And then, the confidence builds in the others to add their voices to it. And it needs to be the same situation. It's so easy. Like the power divide between employees and management is massive anyway. So why are they going to listen to you anyway? To them, you're just a cog in the machine. Then even more so, they're going to stand up for their friends and people they've worked with for 10 to 15 years. And that's how then these power vacuums and the ability to create situations where abuse of power just is gotten away with. Power in numbers needs to come, from the confidence of people putting their voices together like this and taking or demanding action is taken in certain ways. Like, fucking Activision Blizzard's statement is just, God, awful, condescending nonsense. And, people, ultimately painting a target on their back if there wasn't enough numbers, but people inside of Blizzard putting their voices together to be like, this is bullshit, is a huge step forward. I hope that it can lead to something like that. Unions in the UK, not exactly something we really do, but in America, of course, it's amazing that literally the biggest industry for media in the entire country doesn't have unionization.
Right. Yeah. When you were saying that you need powers and numbers to make demands, it seems like we got that. We're just missing the demands part of the equation. The open letter signed by 1,000 people doesn't seem like it has a very, very terrifying consequence to the bosses. If they just ignore it, what a threat like that misses is the threat of the strike.
No, because this is what happens, right? It's an ever revolving circle. Studio does something bad because X writer writes about it. Now, if nobody from the studio says anything, internally, nothing will change. The outward image of that studio might change in people's public perception of them.
Yeah.
But internally, nothing would change.
This is Ubisoft.
They send out a PR statement.
Ubisoft.
Yeah, they send out a PR statement that just says, oh, we regret that this has happened under our watch. This is not the kind of values that we stand for as a studio. Then internally, nothing changes. But the repair job of the outside public perception is to be corrected. And they try to do that. So everyone looks, from the outside, it looks like, oh, look, they're changing, they're making change. But until the actual, power, people in power who are employees of those studios step forward and take that step to be like, no, actually nothing has changed, which it seems to be quite evident with Ubisoft, like a lot coming now a year later after what happened, to show that nothing's been done. And unfortunately, then it leads to people can put outside pressure on studios all they want. But as long as their employees are making those games and generating a profit, who cares, right? From their point of view. So in that internal pressure, it has to be like a melting pot like this to then blow over into someone taking that step forward. And it should be coming from the people who have the positions in which they could be abusive of power, because that's the situation that's been changed, but using that power and privilege to push for change internally.
Do you think that some of that might be happening at Ubisoft right now, based on how often the big tentpole releases are kind of looking like they're slowing down and past their peak, and how long it's been taking someone in there to put together the Skull and Bones, their Skull and Bones project? And also with how much talent has been leaving Ubisoft. Is that what it looks like if there's not a union and the internal pressure happens anyway? Is that top-level talent bleeds, projects start getting delayed or canceled, and the company withers into something smaller than it used to be over a few years to a decade? Is that what it...
I don't... this is the thing, people don't realize happy people... rested people make good games. You don't squeeze blood from a stone, right? You can't get things from people if they're just immovable objects that are tired, down, harassed, etc., right? Fostering good environments leads to highly successful and usually on-track video games, right? I can't remember what report it was. I think it was a GDC report a couple of years ago, actually, that looked into the trends of studios that did satisfactory reports, internally, questionnaires about employee satisfaction anonymously versus sales for that year or in that financial quarter. And it correlated to as the same as most of all the 4-day weekend articles that you see about Microsoft taking 4-day weeks instead of 5.
You maximize,
and the productivity rising.
You maximize those hours when you...
People don't feel like they're wasting their time their precious time at work. Yeah. So, I mean, I don't know why we keep banging this drum of let's just treat people like shit. And even more so, let's treat women like shit who are trying so hard now to get into the industry where now it's become a normal thing. And it's still disparagingly like swinging in favor of men. That's just how it is at this moment in time. And not only are they having to fight to get a job in the first place, then once they get that job, which is, I assume, just like ours, is their dream job, they have to deal with this. It's awful.
And
it's really heartbreaking, right? Like, one of the most talented people I know is a narrative writer who is a woman who has been in the industry for a while now and still has problems based on just the fact that she's a woman. And like, it's baffling because like she would be an asset to any team, and massively more so than most narrative leads I've met. And yet the fact that these things can still happen to someone as talented and as respected as her is incredibly frustrating and just baffling to me. It's like, Matt says, just be kind. Don't be a dick. Be nice. Respect people no matter who they are, what they are.
I don't know why it matters that much. It shouldn't matter that much. Who cares? Like, it's like, listen, I talk about my roommate a lot, right? Well, I used to anyway, but when that was popular with the BLM, and it's just like me and him have differences, right? But why would I let it affect me and my cheap ass rent? You know what I mean? Like, I'm just gonna be. We still have little conversations here and there, but we don't talk about the things that we disagree about or anything like that. Like, it's just, I still respect him as a human. I don't think they're less than dirt or anything like that. I still help him take his old mattress downstairs. Like, I don't know,
getting
like
specific.
Yeah, you know what I mean. Like that. You still do the normal stuff. I don't secretly hate the guy or anything like that. But it seems like these men, dude, like these old white men, they'd be crazy, man. They living in this old ass world, man.
When envisioning how a culture of power abuse and harassment and project leading frustrations can face a studio putting together a really expensive project that is also facing people leaving, I feel like the material consequence for that kind of situation and that kind of culture would be something like the free-to-play video game Tom Clancy's Elite Squad getting shut down just about more or less 1 year to date after its launch. This was...
Which one is this one?
The Tom Clancy crossover video game, free-to-play crossover video game, which is confusing because they just announced another one called Tom Clancy's X Defiant, which is different than Tom Clancy's Elite Squad. But God. Doesn't look like it has a bright future either. Tom Clancy's Elite Squad was the one that used the Black Lives Matter fist in the villains' artwork in their...
Wait, what?
When they announced this game, we talked about it on the show for a little bit.
Was it the hand thing?
Yeah, with the hand, the fist.
Oh, okay. They're trying to get all the people, the white people to buy their game. By people that hate black people.
Behind the scenes, it turns out that the project was given towards one of their extremely conservative relatives and not a highly accomplished artist who had to live through poverty and make it through the meritocracy.
No, the director of the project was Guillemot's son. That was the nepotism.
I just can't believe that they're also
how does that get through like
rich family
channels? How does it get through like people to release a trailer? How does that happen? How's like?
Probably because no one has any control other than the director, probably.
And did the director say we want to use the BLM fist specifically? Like, what do you say to an artist to get them to use that fist in the trailer?
Maybe he just like got it and just sent it to him. Like, oh, use this fist. This looks pretty cool, right? Uprising.
He
right?
probably like Googled image it, and he was like, "Look at this really powerful symbol. We should use something like this." Yeah, bro.
It was for the villains, so it had to look like a scary symbol. You were shooting the guys with the symbol.
Yeah, but
some guys totally tubular.
Yeah, but that's not what it means, George. It's just it's a powerful symbol, Like they're really strong, just like Black Lives Matter, really strong.
Yeah.
Oh boy. Well, in either case, that game is about to be kaput after October. They're shutting the servers down. It was hosted on
it was out.
It was a turn-based tactics game in which these characters from the Tom Clancy, from very M-rated, adult-oriented Tom Clancy franchises looked like DreamWorks characters who smirked at the camera and raised an eyebrow and made quirky, cartoony sarcasm quips in the face of people dying in trailers for kids. It was a very strange project that we knew mostly from the usage of the BLM symbol in promotional materials, and it's gonna be gone. Like that's what it's like. You can spend entire years of your life working on something that's just gonna be gone, just gonna fizzle away. It's gonna be something you never really wanted to work on in the first place.
Because some guy was an idiot.
Just because some guy was an idiot, the marketing was never good, the reviews were never good.
Too.
It got a 46 on Metacritic, so probably.
Probably. I mean, it's hard for me. It would hard to be not biased, especially if someone put that shit in the game. Like because it got released in the trailer, not that it was in the trailer. One guy who hates, because it got released in the trailer. I'm like,
But it was controversial enough for them to change the symbol the bad guys were using for the final cut. But in the trailer, the bad guys were using the BLM symbol.
You did it though. Like it's the damage is done. The damage is done. You know, you say the N-word once. You know, and it's just like, ugh.
And then you're a gamer.
Okay, what's the context? Ooh, that makes it worse. And then you're done. It's gonna take a while for that sting to wear off. You know, I still think of PewDiePie.
Has anyone ever really tried to make a point over what it says about you in terms of how you treat the bad guys in your video games? If you're making a video game, what kind of bad guys you make? If you're playing a video game, what sort of random words come out of your mouth when you're shooting at the bad guys? Has anyone ever really pointed out how there might be kind of a personality test sort of thing going on? They might be kind of sort of a Rorschach blob in terms of how you treat the villains in your games?
I never call a villain a cracker or any of those.
I never got into that habit. I don't understand where it starts. I never got into that
either. It will always be like, you know, like neutral names, you know, like motherfucker, or, you know, like even the occasional bitch, you know, like that's pretty much it. Like, I guess bitch is not neutral. I guess that's more old school. Neutral.
I don't even do that. My mom might be watching.
Yeah. Every once in a while, this is because it's like old habits of, like, you know, in high school when you used to yell out absurd shit, and back then it was like whatever.
Well,
old days.
At least then you would have the excuse of being a kid, testing boundaries, and now, you know, as adults we're supposed to already know the test.
It wasn't necessarily testing boundaries though. It was more like just that was the lingo back then. Now it's none of this stuff is the lingo. Now it's just like more. Well, I'm older too as well. Like, I'm just not gonna say like, you know. Let me not. I was gonna say some things. But I was like, let me not offend. Like, I don't really care about offending people, but I don't want to intentionally offend some just by saying certain words. But like, yeah, you could say certain things and like you just, as a kid, you're just like, whatever. I feel like kids are way more aware now.
It does feel like everybody's problems are more shared than they have ever been before. Like when I was growing up, of course, due to the fact technology was more limited, I had no idea what the fuck was going on in America. And why would I? Why would it affect me? It doesn't fucking matter. But now, because I work in the game city in Japan, I've never worked in America, but I work in the same industry. But this, you know, this studio issue, a Blizzard, and, you know, the stuff that happens with the Tom Clancy thing, which is in Canada, like, these are problems shared, right? And it's Canada. Like, wow. Yeah, it's kind of like compounding misery because we're all sharing in a lot of misery together. It's a tough one.
In Canada. What? That is so interesting.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
that's so interesting. Wow.
they should know
even
better.
understand that now. Not to say that all Canadians are nice and they will never do anything bad, but like it's just like it's so weird for a non-U.S. well, I guess all the people there could not be from Canada too. So,
But that's what I mean. Problem shared, right? Like Black Lives Matter. We marched in Kyoto for that in support, right? It's like problems. It's problems shared now. But we can't all handle all of the world's problems on our shoulders all of the time. We can, and that's kind of the weight that I think our generation and Gen Z and freaking millennials
and you
all
got
sort of share is this kind of like weighted chain around our necks that we all have to be aware of all of the problems that stuff that would never. Like America's healthcare. That's a depressing thought, but it will never affect me for as long as I don't live in America, right? But because I am very close with people who live in America, I have friends who are Americans, right? It is like a weighted misery around my neck as much as it does seem to be in the general discourse of the world. And that then means that all of these problems are this weirdly shared weight that we all have to burden ourselves upon.
Oh man,
it's a tough one for sure.
And it keeps going. This thought of what to do with a massive depressing problem hanging around your neck after you put yourself out there in the open, in the crosshairs for the internet to criticize you, raises its head again.
You should come talk about it. You should come talk about it in the Dad and Sons Discord, and spoil the Patreon. That's what you should do. That's how you solve life's mysteries.
But wait, do you guys want to talk about the Super Hot VR suicide update?
Wait, what?
So Super Hot VR has been updated. The developer has removed all references of self-harm from the game for reasons we don't really know very specifically about. The developer update... Oh, sorry.
Old.
Yeah.
Old. It's 2021.
It's from 2016, I think. It was very, very.
It's a long time ago.
Very, very long due. After the fact, but anyways, the dev update. They say, the skip disturbing scenes toggle was added in a previous update. Considering the sensitive times we're living in, we can do better than that. You deserve better. All scenes alluding to self-harm are now completely removed from the game. These scenes have no place in super hot virtual reality. We regret it took us so long. We're committed to shipping this update to all VR platforms.
I guess I'll jump in the fire, because I know I'll probably be the only one. Why?
I actually agree. I actually agree. I agree. Why?
Yeah, it doesn't sound like a positive or negative. It's just a why.
It's just a why. Like, okay, there's a thin line between something that does not add to the experience and something that's like story driven, like it adds something to it. There's a thin line between those things, and I didn't think anything of it. Of course. Do I deal with depression on a daily basis? Not on a daily basis, no. I guess it doesn't affect me. Maybe this change is not for me. I can agree with that, but I don't understand the change.
If the developer's intention was to remove it because of something they felt about and they wanted to do it, I agree with it because it is. The game is the creator of the game's intent, and that is what a game is, I think. Right. But you have to deal with something with your audience. Yeah. But they did the correct response, which is to add a toggle to skip those things, because some people don't want to see that. And that's fine.
Oh, it's a toggle.
No, it was a toggle.
Now it's gone.
But then they removed it. Now it's gone completely.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
So I feel like possibly, if there's no explanation to this, something maybe is whoever is in control of this is maybe for them it's maybe too much.
Yeah, I'm wondering if something might have happened in their personal or family lives on a very, very personal level here.
I do also question sometimes, and I wonder, I think this is flipping it to the other side when you get pressurized on multiple ways. I don't know why games get treated differently to movies and TV, and why in TV and movies almost nothing is taboo. Sex, murder, violence, suicide, depression, like thematic themes that hit hard are
Incest? Like, what the fuck?
not sure
On a grand scale,
like
Game of Thrones.
It's untouchable
Crusader
in TV
Kings.
movies. They get away with it, right? It's not that they get away with it, but it's ingrained in those, and you can do it. With games, there is always a contentious discussion around something. It's like we're still unable to do certain things, like sex in games is still so immature, it's ridiculous, right? But at the same time, when you have a game that depicts graphic depression or suicidal thoughts or something like that, as long as the appropriate warnings are given to the player, I don't know why those things should ever be discussed as like, oh, this is over the top, you shouldn't do this, blah, blah, blah. It's like, but why are games subjected to a different type of review filter than movies and TV? I understand the interactivity part of it. Like, there's a difference in interactivity, but then that would be leaning into the video games, teach people how to kill when they absolutely do not.
Yeah. I mean, I play VR, and I shoot a lot of people in VR, so apparently I know how to shoot a gun now.
He's the nicest man alive.
I wish.
I'll fucking kill you.
Not when I play games. It's funny. I don't know. I might upset a lot of people. The Last of Us 2 is the reason why I like games like The Last of Us 2 and God of War, like this story-driven stuff that. And I guess God of War doesn't really fit into that in terms of this subject, but Last of Us 2 has those strong, themes of I mean, they try to do a lot of things, and for me, in my opinion, it works, right? It's the blend between having those scenes of sex and stuff like that in a way that's I guess I like in the movies, where it's more not just hot coffee from Grand Theft Auto San Andreas.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Blast from the past.
Nothing like fully clothed Friday night grinding with isn't that what adults do?
Yeah. And to be honest, I don't like it in movies either or shows where it's just I don't want to watch Jessica. I keep calling her Jessica Bones because all she did was bone in that thing. Jessica Jones, that's her name. Jessica Jones. If you ever watch the first season of that, it was just her just having sex with Luke Cage the whole time. And it's just insane. Insane. Literally, that was the beginning of the episode for 4 episodes straight. And it's just why? You know what I mean? I don't know. There's a in that show, it doesn't matter. They're not gonna pull it, even though that wasn't done right. Compared to I don't know if you were to put it in the same camp as a video game, but for some reason it was weird in The Last of Us 2 when those scenes were there. I feel it's certain. I think maybe there's just a more immature audience for games.
And that is the sad reality, isn't it? I think, and in the way we react, well, not we, but we as a community of people and industry, we see the reactions. We're looking at the Super Hot one now, right? It's arguably, I whatever the reason, right? As Matt said, the why is the interesting part, and I think if they bowed to pressure about certain things, I think that's also a bit
seem like
unfortunate.
there was what
didn't
pressure?
seem that way, though.
Who?
Yeah, but then the response from capital G gamers is
Oh yeah,
is one to be immature.
Yeah,
right?
that game, they're triggering Valve's anti-review bombing system right now. There's that opened up the usual suspects to copy paste their usual diatribes about how SJW snowflakes are going to want to take the blood out of Grand Theft Auto next, when it really seems like it was just the developer acting alone.
Yeah.
Because I don't remember...
People scream at the whole PC thing.
I don't remember any controversy around Superhot VR. Like, Superhot VR always seemed like as edgy and violent as it is, it always seemed like what you plug grandma into to show her that. Like, it's abstract enough and weird enough and self-aware enough of the edginess that you would think it wouldn't... no one ever really seemed to get offended in that game's case. And also, in that game's particular case, there is a recurring theme of suicide in all the Superhot games. That they never really got praise for their story. The one little itty-bitty bit of Superhot story that you guys might remember is that there's an evil video game computer virus floating around, infecting people, making their bodies disposable as their minds turn into mind-controlled digital consciousnesses that some evil game master is telling them to kill their real bodies with. It's a recurring theme of the plot, and Superhot VR in particular, I thought it was actually executed kinda... cleverly and artistically interesting, because you would shoot yourself in the face to go back a layer in the menu system. That was cool. It was kind of neat. It felt weird.
I feel like it's the same innocuous thing as like the Evoker, which is a invoking name, in Persona 3. Shooting yourself in the head to evoke your persona.
And there was no big controversy. Like, there was maybe some posts from some evangelicals who thought it was demonic during launch. But in the, 17 years that Persona 3 has been Mass Effect 1 was more controversial than Persona 3 was. For its sex scenes, Mass Effect 1 got more media coverage in the conservative TV channels than Persona 3 did for it having a, demon summoner toy machine in the game look like a gun you shoot yourself with. Yeah, it's abstract, it's cartoony, it's weird, it's obviously nothing to do with the real thing. The stakes are obviously way lower under the presentation of it, to the point where I don't think anyone was offended. I don't remember any big controversy over it, and it seems like something may have happened in the developer's life that got them to rethink the art they were immortalizing their place in this world with, and that's what might have prompted the decision more than any outside pressure. It's speculation without any kind of a better answer, but one thing that does... I think I'm on the edgier side of the debate for once, and one thing that does strike me as just straight up wrong in the developer's blog update is that these scenes have no place in Superhot virtual reality. I disagree with that.
I mean, yeah, but at the end of the day, I fall back on whether or not you disagree, doesn't matter. The game maker's intent is to show you what the game maker's intent is. You didn't make the game, therefore you are not in control of what. It's Nintendo and the controls, right? They made it for that reason, whatever. It's I can complain about it all I want, but that doesn't mean the right for it to be changed exists, right? It's the game maker's intent, which I think is equally as important. And if they feel like it doesn't belong in there,
it does scare me to think that
it doesn't belong in there.
The permanency of a cultural marker can be thought out of existence later on if the author changes their mind on something down the road. But
it's the same as the Mass Effect endings, right? People complained they were bad and they wanted good ones. So you're rewriting bad for good, and that's okay. But rewriting, something that is something you think is good for out or something.
Day, one thing Mass that should never really be rewritten is the historical record. Ooh. And so that's why I think there should.
But it won't.
Why there should be a version hosted somewhere. The user should have an option to roll back to a previous version or something.
No, I don't. I don't agree with that. I don't.
No, we're not doing this.
Agree.
We're not doing this. We're not doing this. All right. So, questions.
Yeah. I think if you pay for something, it's a little different. But
that's what happens when
Okay.
you buy.
Oh no. So,
sorry,
Forrest.
go mate.
I mean, we're not gonna have any easier of a time answering the first question on the list here.
We've already gone for 2 hours, so we better.
I mean, this is a fucking paragraph.
Forrest,
Holy shit.
What is this? Sent us a Patreon donation
Forrest.
and then a question asking, as an adult replaying through the Halo and Battlefield series, I am acutely aware of the glorification of violence in our post-9/11 American media. Halo, Call of Duty, Battlefield, as well as war movies like Saving Private Ryan, Top Gun, and Hunt for Red October were everyday media in my household. But the stuff that used to be cool to 12-year-old me now reads as jingoistic. Gun fetishism, military representation, and American exceptionalism are just a few of the topics that have emerged in the forefront of these games. I'm finding it hard to reconcile playing games even as detached as Halo due to themes which were previously unchecked as default. More and more I'm feeling the urge to put down the controller and let go of my old favorites because I can't enjoy the deification of violent men, despite still enjoying the visceral gameplay that I've loved for all these years. Is it possible to engage with this media without buying into pro-war propaganda?
Yeah.
Yeah, because I agree.
Yeah.
I absolutely hate modern military shooters, and it's the same as the Battlefield 2042 thing. I'm done, really, to be honest, with almost like the fetishization of our downfall or the ability to kill another race. Like, America is going through what I think Britain did, like, in the 90s, which is like, after World War II and stuff like that, military was very much cool and respected, but then it became a thing that was like the country's backbone spine was to rely on this nonsense, and the identification of like a militaristic power that could take over anybody was a fetishization that people should buy into, and politicians used it. Now that's what America is going through since 9/11 on. Right? Like, it's strong in you guys. And to see game studios buying into that and monopolizing it is consistently horrid, to be honest. Halo is a bit different for me because I think the science fiction or the ability to push something past the boundaries of realism allows you to get into the escapism.
Yeah.
It's the same as like fighting a total war battle of like samurais versus Vikings, you know. It seems so unrealistic because it happened so long ago that there's a step away. But when you're actively engaging in like simulations of what happens on the planet right now to define the futures of countries and like people who have gone through, you know, actual war zones, it's so distasteful, so tactless, to be honest.
Yeah.
Games can be fun, but man, like, take all of Call of Duty's Warzone's mechanics and that fun gameplay and just put it in something that has a bit of a better set dressing. That isn't just murdering people in this.
If it's a sneak attack, it counts as a murder, kids.
I mean,
hey, I think you can engage in these. Like, I love Halo. Love me some Halo. But I wish we could get away from, like, not necessarily not creating violent games, but creating violent games that are depictions of, like, the actual reality we live in.
So the first 2 video games, by and large, depending on who's arguing, is either Space War or Tennis for Two. And I think that if you were to make an upgrade tree of all other video games throughout history, the branches coming out of Space War would be a lot thicker. There'd be more branches. I'm wondering how different history would have had to go for the human race to create video games and the branches coming out of Tennis for Two for, like, how to gamify a ball bouncing between 2 players rather than, like, 2 players shooting projectiles at each other. How we picked that one as the default video game conflict that the problem to be solved with the basis of all video game problems: violence against an opponent. Yeah, it's a combat.
I mean, it's combat,
sport.
isn't it? it's the oldest. It's Bloodsport. It's the oldest combat in the world. You know, it's the oldest sport. But war is not it's not combat. It's not sport. It's won by drones and bombing people.
And when looking at the history of games themselves, right? You gotta wonder if checkers came after wrestling. Like, was wrestling when dogs play with each other, they're kind of wrestling. I hate thinking about how violent the roots may be. If all a video game is trying to recapture a simulated conflict that is just animals pretending to wrestle each other.
I think it's especially difficult as a non-American because I have nothing to do with America, right? And it's always like the America, fuck yeah, that's the only way I can describe it, right? It's like that feeling, and it's a real like mirroring of like how American politics is, and like the actual feeling of a lot of Americans: freedom to use guns. Yeah. You know, we must protect our freedoms with violence. And the gun comes as the default video game tool, which is something that you don't think about when playing. Unless you play like Japanese games and Western games side by side. In Japanese games, the gunplay will oftentimes be for lower hit points. The guns are not a detachable, customizable piece of equipment. They're your character's default attack or something. Cultural differences get baked into game designs in really subtle ways that add up in grand ways. We were having a discussion in Discord about whether or not Japanese gamers have finally developed a taste for FPS games, and it sounds like Apex Legends is getting big over there. But the fact... Yeah, Apex Legends
the fact that it took so long for an FPS game to break into the market already like speaks volumes to how different the imagery is in a Japanese kid's head of what cool combat looks like compared to what a Western kid would be visioning. Hey.
Yeah, I mean, there's something... Yeah, there is something to be said for Apex Legends being stepping into, the fantasy and not realism, and characters are quirky and there's robots and people fly around. It's kind of a bit sci-fi-ish. I guess Battlefield was also popular at one point here in Japan, but not like anything we know.
What about guns?
Guns is it's just not a thing.
Guns.
Not a thing.
That was the
with
shit
the Z in the end.
Y'all know about guns?
Guns.
Y'all know the duel? Guns the duel.
Yeah, I remember
Guns
being
a
teenager looking for something free to play back when you didn't have a lot of options.
Dude, that shit was gangsta.
I guess,
you don't know about those cancels?
Yeah, I guess
those
you had to be back
dude.
there and gun canceling people yourself to get it, huh?
Shit was like the fucking Smash Brothers Melee of fucking FPSs, man.
Was it the Dark Souls of Smash Melees of FPSs? Hey, Matt.
Yes, that shit was good.
Eric B wants to know, what were you really into before it became mainstream? Like movies, music, hobbies, video games, or crypto monkeys, for example? Besides the crypto monkeys.
I guess technically crypto monkeys will definitely be one thing before it became mainstream for sure. Because that's happening already. With celebrities jumping in this past year, Ashton Kutcher, and they're making like a fucking animation, and they're selling NFTs
wonderful.
based on the animation. It's crazy shit. Yeah. Lots of crazy shit. Yeah, I think all celebrity NFTs are gonna fail, but people would rather buy artist shit. But like so, I mean, music, shit. I've listened to so many. I would probably go down a list. I probably listened to a lot of music before it became popular. Maybe Oliver.
Not
Shit.
Oliver Stone. Oliver Shit.
I can probably Oliver Shit. This is guy I listen to. That's not popular yet, but he has some good music. There's a few.
It's not popular yet. Keep your tab open.
Keep your tab open. You might hear him on the radio. But yeah, I like a lot of indie artists. What have I really been into before?
I want to point out that Guijan
How about you
2
guys?
has become significantly more popular ever since your podcast episode about it. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if we were in the chain. What
Isn't it
Guijan
three?
something?
Is it two?
I remember every
I think
time I
it's
see it in.
It's 3.
All
Guijan,
I know
right?
is that
Oh,
weird
yeah.
game Matt was playing on the podcast that no one can even say correctly. Well, everyone
good,
else
man.
is finding that out now.
Good. I gotta go back to it and finish it up. I might have to replay it though. Yeah, like you could farm in that game. Like they just add so much stuff into that game. That's a AAA right there. Man, that shit was sexy as hell. I can't wait for more Chinese games to come over. We got that Wukong game coming over too. Woo!
I want to point
She
out
looking fire,
that
too.
before he won the Seamus McNally Grand Prize, Veselikov and Umarangi Generation were big hits here on the Dad and Sons podcast. It's
Yeah, we knew. We
Yeah, we
invited
know.
Vess into the inner cabal.
we had the
'cause
winners
we
all
knew.
rigged up and ready.
I mean, he technically won
Yeah,
the award
yeah,
because of
yeah.
us.
Yeah, no-
Technically.
It's because of us. It technically is because of me, because I actually was an IGF jury.
So that means he has to send me his 3090 as payment.
That's
So,
what
I'll
you
be waiting
get
for that.
for winning.
Thanks, bro.
Instead of
3090?
Yeah, he got it. He got it when it first came out, and I wanted to wait, and that was
There
my
you go.
mistake. And that was my mistake.
One of our other dads was ahead of the trend and got one.
Yeah, I
got
remember
something before it was
talking in
cool.
Discord. It's just like I was like, "Nah, I'll wait," and then now I don't
You
have
work
one. I
hard your
can't
whole
get
life.
one.
You develop some
Fucking
unique,
hell.
talented artistic skills. You capitalize on them at the right moment in history. And what do you get? A 3080 that you can that you get addicted to Hunt Showdown with. Not
3090.
at 30 something. He has
Yes.
a 30 something. That's what all the effort
3090.
was leading
The
up to.
best.
The grand moment.
Yeah, man. Playing
but
There you
yeah,
go.
everything on Ultra.
I also
Buy a 3090
still
and
think
everything
it's
will be
kind of
fine.
ironic and wonderful that I was one of the few people hanging positive on Rainbow Six Siege. Because now when I see how incredibly huge,
Oh, yeah, true.
like genuinely mind-boggling, as much as bad as Ubisoft is, and as much as it is your moral civil duty to talk shit about them, they did do a damn good job of turning around a game that always had the potential for white knuckle tension esports there, and very few people were able to see through it on launch, except for me. For some reason, there were very few of us, but that game still has a Metacritic in the 70s at some point. And I wonder if history would have gone differently if my video was not one of the few positive reviews.
Probably.
I guess a
to be
short
honest.
hike.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, yeah. I think George, that and Hunt Showdown and even Mankind.
Oh yeah, and
Ancestors.
what about Death Stranding too? Because
Well,
the conversation kind of turned
No,
around on
okay,
Death
okay.
Stranding.
that's-
Okay,
that
well,
would have
it's
sold
fine.
regardless. There's too
I'm gonna
many.
say I think
there's
the-
too
Like
many,
Siege is
hardcore fans.
huge.
Yeah.
It really does feel like they just made Counter-Strike 2 happen, but when that game first launched, it did not look like that's how history was going to go.
I mean, is it now? It's like everyone's doing powers now, and I feel like
Well, I
that kind
think
of seeped into
The test is like, what game do
Siege
you
as
see
well.
people playing in the background on TV shows and movies and stuff? And Siege shows up there more often than like placeholder would. No, I mean it's no Fortnite, but it's a pillar. Like Siege is always being played on Twitch. If you join in a random pub Discord, there will be people looking for. If you browse people's freaking dating profiles, you'll see Siege show up as games a lot of people regularly play. And also Siege is
what? Wait. So wait. Okay, so when you're searching through women,
I mean, every now and then they'll sometimes have a list of video games, and they'll be the most vanilla, standard issue lifestyle game. Siege will show up in the list alongside stuff like League of Legends and Mario Kart.
Why did I move from fucking Atlanta? Apparently Atlanta has some gamers.
Only maybe two that I've seen. Point is, it's less an Atlanta girl gamer game than it is teetering on the edge of just being a normie game at this point. Like Siege is as normal and popular as maybe Counter-Strike 1.6 was in 2003.
Liam is looking crazy over there.
Liam, what were you?
Liam is.
I don't even know what you're talking. I think a short hike. I'm just gonna throw that one out there. I was preaching a short hike long before this, and before it went IGF.
Didn't you play before the release?
I did because same as in all right. Well, I guess that conversation.
Question though, he answered the question.
I gotta call you out, man.
I was privileged enough to know a short hike was great before everybody else, the peasants of the public, knew it was great.
Oh, we're peasants now. You hear that?
Ah, man. I mean,
look, I'm gonna sit on my ivory tower and not listen to any of you.
Eric B and George, if you bought a monkey when I talked about buying a monkey, do you want to know how much
money would I have made?
So if you bought a monkey for, let's say, 1 ETH, right? There are now.
So I would have made 6.5 times my investment. Okay.
Yes, which would mean about $12,000.
Well, how much would it have costed to invest in the first place?
Wait, that's not the important question. How much is your monkey worth now?
My monkey?
Why even go to college? Why even work?
Yeah. I remember that whole thing. Yeah. My monkey. Well, I usually do floors.
Why even learn how to paint?
Because
I'm gonna forget how to do floors. I'm gonna forget how to do drywalls and light fixtures and.
No, floor meaning floor, like floor apes meaning the
the rarity of all my marketable skills.
Ones, right? They don't have gold teeth
down
or
the
anything
toilet.
Like yeah. But let's say if I sell them both to the bots, I'll have around 14.
This is how money works, kids. Ooh. Sell it all to the bots.
Yeah, there's a lot of bots.
Will do my labor for me.
Because people are more than likely are going to just sell it to some bot. There's always one guy who's just
got some water damage and I need to do the floor and I forgot how to do that skill, but maybe a bot can help me out.
Yeah, absolutely. Roomba.
I'll buy a bunch of Roombas with my NFT money to do labor that bots can't do, and that'll solve the world's economic problems. Liam, you got anything other?
Oh, I can't
other
wait
than the
for
short
people to hate on
hike.
me again.
Surely you knew about something else cool that was not yet cool.
Yes.
When you've been in the business for this long and had this many predictions stamped on the internet, some of them turn out to be right. You know, I totally was not right about Pillars of Eternity, but I was right about Siege.
most things for like the past couple of years though have been mostly the NDA, Friendier secret stuff. So I can't talk about it anyway. I wouldn't even be able to post about it.
Friendier. That's what it's called. That's what the people with friends call it.
No, that's just kind of the, hi,
Right.
I have an NDA. You know what that means. I trust you. I'm going to
I
tell you.
I've never heard that particular Friendier before. Oh, yes.
Oh, it's very common. I don't know. I know about my new game.
I don't
Maybe
know
that'll
if
be
it counts
cool.
if it's
Wait,
your own
what?
thing.
You're talking about it? Since when are you talking about it?
No. I'm making a game. That's it.
You make
Obviously,
games?
I joined
Talk about it.
No, well, oh my god, no! I joined a new studio. I guess.
Oh, I thought they captured you.
Whatever.
What?
I guess what?
Okay.
I guess whatever I'm doing there might be cool. Oh, maybe. Well, maybe you guys might also know something cool.
You're backtracking.
Who knows?
Tom
Who
Clancy's Liam Siege 2.
Liam has some tasty
Pillars-
shit.
Tom Clancy's Pillars of Liam.
Showdown.
In this one, you
I'm the
fight the
drug-
Trump supporters. Which will
Yeah.
equally
Just imagining
get
a
as
room
much
full of Liams, like three
Letting
Liams
Liam.
pointing their fingers at each other. They all have a different opinion about copyright law.
They do.
Oh, that's good.
I'll breach those walls to prove you wrong.
Yeah.
Guys, it's like 1:45.
Okay,
Come on.
what if it's really fun?
2 hours and
What if it's a
15
really...
It's 2
what
hours
if it's
and
a
15
joke
minutes.
question?
All right. Let's finish.
Big Dick McCree says, due to your heroic...
Oh my god.
Oh no!
Dude,
Come
you're-
on. You're ending with McCree. You're ending with
I
McCree.
swear this is a
Fuck
funny, silly question. We should all have lots of giggling, trying to ask ourselves, what American states would we rename to which names and why? And I already have my first answer. To get the ball rolling.
Okay.
What if you could rename a U.S. state to anything, what would it be? And how could you one up my answer, which is renaming Georgia to Georgeland?
Well, I was actually going to say California to Matt State. Just call it Matt's State.
Georgeland
State.
and Matt State.
That sounds so boring.
You got the whole
This is the
thing.
quality content people turn up
Well,
for. Matt State.
Georgia.
Everyone knows Matt. Matt walks around and everyone knows it's his
George
state.
Land is basically a more modern way of saying Georgia,
I will get
so
killed.
I don't think anyone would even be that offended. I'll call someone after the show and get the ball rolling.
I would call something... Do you know what a Yorkie is?
The dog?
No.
No, it was a big chocolate... It was like a famous chocolate bar in the UK. And it famously
it's
had the slogan...
News to me.
It famously had the slogan, "Not for girls,"
Because girls hate chocolate.
because it was like this big giant chocolate bar. Like it was only for men. But I would call like lots of chocolate. I would call like New York like New Yorkie or something, or
Just
New
Googled it.
York.
This is hilarious. It looks like an Onion parody product. It just says "not for girls" and they underline the "not."
It's
With an
delicious,
exclamation
but,
point at the end.
Yeah, that was
Can you
it didn't age well for them.
rename states to like
Sure.
sentences?
Yeah.
Like Texas, don't.
yeah.
If you're black, don't
When
stop
you're
at
the
a gas
owner of
station.
Matt State,
Yeah.
When-
If you're black,
when you're
don't
the
stop
owner
at a
of
gas
Matt
station.
State.
Like, oh yeah, I'm going to I'm gonna pass through. I'm black. Don't stop at a black station. That state. Yeah. Like that's what you got to do when you're in Texas. Don't stop at a black.
hey honey, how was your business trip to? This is a black state. Keep moving.
No. I'm black. If you're black, don't stop at a gas station. Like no, that's too much.
Liam's
That's too
just
much.
explaining how it works for the racists.
There's people who live in Texas. They're okay.
They
They're
don't pay
alive.
they don't pay
So it's all
federal
good.
income tax though, and
Somehow.
that tends to turn them into libertarians. Like John Carmack likes to like a lot of things on Twitter that are talking about how inefficient and bad the government is, and I don't know how he expects to use the internet to share his video games he's working on as a kid without that, but okay.
Like, you know those movies that you see those like gas stations and you see like one or two tumbleweeds flowing across, like, and that's it. That's all you see is just desert and just one gas station. That's how it's like in certain parts. I just want to give it a mental image for people. Yeah. Go ahead, Leo.
I was just going to say I would purposely misspell states just frustratingly. Like Seattle is like Seattle.
I got a good one then. Like as of Kansas and
Arkansas. Yeah.
Arkansas.
As of
Can we call Texas?
Just like rename that shit to Arkansas.
You wouldn't even need to.
Could we call Texas?
No new printed material, no new merchandise. Don't even need to change the spelling, just the name.
They add, like, everyone's adding dashes now. Just one state that has a dash.
Yeah, I would name North Dakota South Dakota, and I'd name South Dakota North Dakota.
I would rename Pennsylvania to Penisylvania. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk.
Can we have Texas also be called Texas, but with 3 X's, and it's Texas?
It needs to be Texxass. Texxass.
Instead of tumbleweeds, it's just like vibrating dildos that pass by gas stations that have XXX.
You literally cannot sell dildos in Texas. They have to put up a little note in the window of the dildo store that says these aren't dildos, they're educational harnesses, because Ted Cruz made it illegal to sell sex toys.
America is an absolute fucking parody of itself, honestly. You guys are a joke.
What about like deleting states?
Oh, we've been working on it for centuries.
Deleting states like that no one ever visits or talks about, like Maine. No one ever says I'm from Maine. You know, that's it. Just like see it, make it disappear, and see if anyone knows.
I'd name like one of the states.
Our one viewer from Maine.
Yeah, he's just disappeared. I'd like name just one state up north, like Canada, just like an extension of Canada. Just call it Canada and just see what happens. And you could very quickly also name New Mexico as Mexico. And just see.
Did you guys know that New Mexico is arguably older than regular ordinary Mexico?
How is that possible when your country is literally not even that old?
During the colonial era, most of the territory that is now Mexico was called New Spain, but they did have that one little chunk on top called New Mexico. And they named it that because the indigenous name for the land is Mexico, I think. And the Spanish settlers were like, nope, wherever we landed is Spain. I guess the little nub on top can be the indigenous name. There you go. That's your history lesson behind why New Mexico is older than however many centuries the label for that chunk of land on the map said Mexico underneath it. That's all. You're welcome.
Thank you, George.
Thank you, George. I feel like that's a good way to lead us out. Educational. Go to Nebula.
You learned something.
After I said that if I had the power, I would just change Pennsylvania to Penis.
I'm still on the Texxass.
Hey, you win some, you lose some.
But it has to end with ass. You need to turn Texas into Texxass.
Yeah, Texas.
America is so big, it takes a whole day to drive from Texas to Penisylvania.
Wow. And there it is.
Oh, God. Yeah, that's time to roll it out. We're good. That was fun.